Hey guys, I'm making this video to answer a couple questions. My take on relationships, and specifically, I was asked recently, why would I waste my time, um, like looking for the perfect person or like the perfect guy? And my response to that is, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time and I don't really feel like I'm looking for the perfect person. Like, I get it that my expectations are pretty high. I mean, I'm in California, so I don't know what I'm gonna get. But so far, I've not found what I'm looking for, so it's frustrating when you live in one of the most diverse states in the United States of America and you still can't find a suitable mate. Like, that's frustrating. So yeah, I take that personally, and I spend a bit of time often like looking at what I think the people that I do meet have to offer, and I'm always so disappointed. Like, um, I went to dinner a couple of nights ago, and I was out. I was kind of like working, but I was out with the family, and anyway, I was having this conversation with the dad of the 2-year-old that I was babysitting for, and we're just having a normal conversation. And he brings up the fact, like, "Oh, are you single, married?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm divorced." And he's like, "Wow, you're divorced?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it's awkward." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sure you can find a great guy. You're a great gal. I'm sure there's. And I'm so tired of people saying that. Like, seriously? Yeah, I'm sure that I was sure a couple years ago that I'd find a great guy, and that still hasn't happened. So it's frustrating that, yes, there are a lot of options. There are a lot of guys. Okay? Lots of guys. However, they don't provide the things that I'm looking for, and I don't think that I'm looking for too much. However, unfortunately, a lot of the men that I meet feel like I'm asking for too much, and instead of just separating from me and just saying, I can't give you what you're asking for, they play the role and they try really hard to change who they are, and without me ever asking them to. But they want to fit the description of the perfect guy for me, so they make these changes, and then they realize that they're changes that they can't live with. So the changes last for like a month, 3 months. Like, I've been with someone before who changed who they were for 6 months. 6 months of dating, and they were one person. And then after separating and like kind of trying to revisit the relationship and choosing whether or not to get back together, we chose to kind of like see how things would go. In getting back together, I realized that person was the complete opposite of who I met originally, and their explanation was that they changed all of these things because I was the right person for them. They just weren't sure they were the right person for me. And that, unfortunately, is usually the case. I can be really great for anybody. Like, I don't have to change who I am because most of the time what someone's looking for, I already have that. Like, not even in a like cocky way or anything, but just very confident. Like, you can't name something about me that a guy is going to be like, "Oh, she doesn't have X or Y or Z." Like, usually, and I don't know if it's just a California thing, but like, I'm pretty well versed in guy list 101, like what's on his checklist. And not that I use that as like an invitation to meet people, but like, for sure, when I meet people and I ask them, "What are you looking for?" and they go down this list that they think is so unique and like special and specific, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna find out in like 2.5 seconds that what he thinks the perfect woman amounts to is like maybe the first paragraph on my resume, my relationship resume, which I do have. And so anyway, that's interesting. But then what happens is then I am interested in their resume. Like, okay, so these are the things I'm looking for. And like, they're choking on their food, all this, they're like spilling their drink, they have to go to the bathroom, and they're in there having a panic attack. They've already made up their mind that they want me, but now in order to get me, they have to pretend to play the part because they know that they don't really deserve me. They know that in a perfect world, I would accept them for all their flaws and like accept them just for who they are and forget my list, ditch my list entirely. However, it's not a perfect world. I'm not going to do that. So I waste time meeting people who are like so great and wonderful for like the first month, and then all of a sudden they like pull out a cancer stick in the middle of us like taking a walk in the park, and I'm like, pretty sure you know I don't date smokers. Like, what's this about? And they're like, oh, well, I stopped smoking for 4 weeks. Oh, wow, I don't ever remember asking you to do that. So why didn't you just admit that you were a smoker when you met me? Oh, well, because I knew that was going to, like, turn you off, and I just feel like I'm such a great catch. I don't want that to get in the way of us having this phenomenal relationship and connection, which, in fact, we might have a phenomenal relationship and connection. However, it's all based on, like, you being dishonest, and that's not attractive. Like, I'm not going to applaud you for tricking me for 4 weeks, and then now you want to work it out because you're hoping to have enough feelings for you that I'm going to be like, oh, well, you're just so great that, I'll still accept you with your smoking, whatever. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. That's not okay with me. Not only were you dishonest, but you were dishonest for a long period of time during which you were being consistently dishonest on a regular basis without caring how I was going to feel about that. Like, how am I going to trust you in the future with anything? This is clearly a red flag. So, on to the next. Like, nice to meet you. Have a great life. Find a girl that's a smoker, and you'll be great. Like, yeah, she's not going to be me because I don't smoke. I'm sorry. But everybody can't have their cake and eat it too. And that's the reason why I'm like, yeah, I'm not just going to settle for the guy that smokes. Like, why? Why should I have to do that? There's no reason for that. No, I have made exceptions, and this has just been like really recent. I've made exceptions for people who were artistic and used marijuana as a way to get in the zone. Like, as long as you're not around me, I don't smell it, hear about it, you don't have to talk about it, bring it up. If we're together, you're not like twitching and freaking out because you need one like a cigarette smoker. If it's out of sight, out of mind, and I don't have to worry about it, and it's not something that you need every day, every moment of your life, but that this might be something that you occasionally do when you're by yourself or with your friends, and it's your thing, fine. Fine. That's a big deal for me. Like, I'm so not okay with it, but I'm definitely a compassionate enough person to understand people live in a very different way than I do. And just because of that, like with the smoker, I'm not going to reject them entirely, but there are certain things that I just can't do. Other things, I might be able to compromise. That is a humongous compromise. But no, the very first time that I smell it on them, or that they forget and they start trying to light up, or we're hanging out somewhere and people are starting to smoke, no, that's not okay. Now we have to have the serious talk. Now I have to give you the eyes. Okay. Yeah. And then we move on because I tell you, it's not going to work. This is who you are. I love who you are, but this is not something that works for me in a relationship, an intimate relationship. We can be friends. And whenever we hang out and kick it, you won't do any of those things, and we'll still be fine. But romantically, I need to be able to have more access to you than every once in a while kicking it. And in me having that much access to you, I'm likely going to be with you when you're going through this creative process and you're wanting to smoke. And you're going to have to choose me or wanting to smoke. And at some point, you're going to feel like you shouldn't have to choose, because you shouldn't have to. Because if I'm putting myself in that position with you, at some point I should expect to lose it. And that you're going to just smoke and hope that I deal with it and get over myself.